Have you ever wondered why you don't understand the English spoken by native speakers? One reason for that is because native speakers use idioms, phrases or expressions that you may not have learned or you may know nothing about. In today's video, I want to help you learn some commonly used and practical English idioms and expressions that can help you speak like native speakers and avoid speaking like textbooks, like the plague. Are you ready to learn these English idioms? Of course you are, so let's start learning them. The first English expression used by native speakers that you need to learn, you need to be able to use to understand native speakers and be able to speak like them is I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. Once again, I couldn't care less. But what does this phrase mean? Where do we exactly use it? And what do we mean by using it? I couldn't care less is an emphatic way of saying I don't care at all. I don't care about something at all. So one way of emphasizing that you don't care about something at all is by saying I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. An example of this phrase. He said I wasn't invited to the party. Honestly, I couldn't care less. He said I wasn't invited to the party. Honestly, I couldn't care less. Which means he said I was not invited to the party, but I don't care at all. That's not something that I care about a lot, or that's something completely unimportant to me. It's not that I care about it a lot, that's something that I never care about. That's something that I never care about. Now we're getting to the second phrase of today's video that you need to learn to avoid sounding like textbooks and start speaking English in the same way as native speakers do, which is to mean the world to someone. To mean the world to someone. Once again, to mean the world to someone. But what does this phrase mean? What does it refer to? What does someone mean by saying something means the world to them or someone means the world to them? Well, to mean the world to someone means to be very important to someone, to be significant to someone, to be something or someone that someone considers very important, significant, and someone cares a lot about. An example of this phrase, my family means the world to me. I would do everything for it. My family means the world to me. I would do everything for it. Which means my family is the most important thing in the world to me, and I would do everything for it. What about you? Is there anything that means the world to you? What is it? And why do you think it means the world to you? Is there anyone that means the world to you? Who is that person? And why do they mean the world to you? Now we proceed to the third English phrase of today's video that you gotta learn to avoid sounding like textbooks, or to start sounding natural and organic, to start sounding like native speakers, which is money is no object. Money is no object. Have you ever been in a situation in which you wanted to emphasize that you don't care about the money that you should pay for something, or the money that you should pay for something is not your biggest concern, or you got enough money and you don't care how much you got to pay for something? In such a case, you can say money is no object in order to emphasize that you don't care about the money that you should pay for something, or you're getting something and you don't care about its price. You don't pay attention to its price because you really want to get it. And the money that you got to pay for it is not a game changer, is not a deal breaker, is not something that prevents you from getting it or buying whatever it is that you want to get. So by saying money is no object, what you mean is you don't care about the money that you should pay for something. No matter how expensive something is, you want to get it because you're rich enough to buy it, to afford it, or the money that you should pay for it, no matter how high, is not a game changer, is not a deal breaker, is not something that can prevent you from buying that thing. An example of this phrase, they choose the most expensive hotels and they always say money is no object. They choose the most expensive hotels and they always say money is no object, which means they always choose the most expensive hotels in the world and they always say money is no object, meaning that they always say they don't care about the money that they should pay for the expensive hotels that they book or the astronomical amount of money that they should pay for the hotels that they book is not something that prevents them from booking the hotels, or is not something that scares them or stops them from booking the expensive hotels. Are you ready for the fourth phrase of today's video that helps you sound like native speakers or avoid sounding like a textbook? Of course you are. The fourth phrase is to stink to high heaven. To stink to high heaven. Once again, to stink to high heaven. But where do you use this phrase? What do you mean by using it? And how can you use it? Well, first let's get to the meaning of this phrase. Let's find out what it means. To stink to high heaven means to smell bad, to smell terrible, to stink, to have a terrible smell, to have an unpleasant or an intolerable or an unbearable smell, to smell terrible. So when a native speaker says, hey, something is stinking to high heaven, it means something smells terrible, something has an unpleasant smell. An example of this phrase: your socks stink to high heaven, don't you want to wash them? Your socks stink to high heaven, don't you want to wash them? Which means your socks smell terrible, don't you want to wash them? Your socks smell awful, they have an unpleasant smell, don't you want to wash them? What about you? Is there anything around you that stinks to high heaven? What is it? And what do you say every time it approaches you, or you approach it, every time it gets close to you and its unpleasant smell starts annoying you? I want you to provide an answer to all the questions I asked you down below in the comment section. Now we're getting to the fifth English phrase of today's video that you can use and take advantage of to stop sounding like a textbook and start speaking English in the same way as native speakers do, which is not as black as it's painted. Not as black as it's painted. Something is not as black as it's painted. Once again, something is not as black as it's painted. What does it mean? Well, when we say something is not as black as it's painted, it means something is not as bad as people say it is. Something is not as unpleasant as people describe it. People talk about it. Something is not as bad as people think it is. Something is not as bad as people show it. Something is not as bad as people describe it. An example of this phrase: they say he's cold and arrogant, but he's not as black as he's painted. He's actually kind. They say he's cold and arrogant, but he's not as black as he's painted. He's very kind. Which means people say that he's very cold, arrogant, selfish. He has an unpleasant character. People describe him as a cold and selfish person, but he's not really as bad as people say he is. He's actually very nice, he's very kind. And now we're getting to the final phrase of today's video that you can use to stop sounding like a textbook as the first step forward and start sounding like a native speaker, which is, I cannot bring myself to do something. I cannot bring myself to do something. Once again, I cannot bring myself to do something. Someone cannot bring themselves to do something. When you say that you cannot bring yourself to do something, it means you're not able to do something. You find yourself unable to do something because it is psychologically and emotionally difficult for you. Something is not possible for you to do because it is too difficult psychologically and emotionally. You come under an unbearable or an unpleasant or an intolerable amount of psychological and emotional pressure when you want to do it, when it comes to doing it. So when you say you cannot bring yourself to do something, it means you feel unable to do something. You cannot persuade or convince yourself to do something because it is psychologically and emotionally difficult for you to do or handle. An example of this phrase: I know I have to say goodbye, but I cannot bring myself to do it. I know I have to say goodbye, but I cannot bring myself to do it. Once again, I know I have to say goodbye, but I cannot bring myself to do it. Which means I know I have to say goodbye, but I can't really do it, handle it. I can't convince myself to do it. I feel unable to do it because it is psychologically and emotionally too difficult for me to do. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. You learned 6 practical English phrases that you can use and take advantage of to stop sounding like a textbook and to start sounding like a native speaker. Let's review these 6 phrases together. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. Mean the world to someone. Mean the world to someone. Mean the world to someone. Money is no object. Money is no object. Money is no object. Sting to high heaven. Sting to high heaven. Sting to high heaven. Not as black as it's painted. Not as black as it's painted. Not as black as it's painted. I cannot bring myself to do something. I cannot bring myself to do something. I cannot bring myself to do something. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you like this video in support of this channel and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video.